channel. So for today's video, we're going to be doing a really fun transformation. If you've been following me for a while, you know that my sisters love changing their hair just as much as I do. And if you watched my video I uploaded a few weeks ago where I did both of their hair, you saw that I took Kira a little bit lighter. She's a beautiful bronzy blonde right now, and she's actually wanting to change it up and do pink. So I'm going to walk you guys through how we do this today. We're going to be doing an all-over lightener application while keeping the integrity of her hair intact. We're going to be adding extensions, and we're going to be custom coloring those extensions and her hair to a beautiful pastel pink rose gold shade. So if you're wanting to see how we do this, stay tuned. All right guys, so we're going to start mixing up. We are going to be doing a few, could you reach some bowls for me? I'm so sorry. Surgery problems. Okay, sorry about that. So we're going to be mixing up today, and we are going to be using Blonde Me, and we're going to be doing two different formulas because we're going to be treating this a little bit differently. We can't just slap on bleach all over her hair with one volume of developer and expect it to go well. We're wanting to make sure that her hair stays healthy, and we also want to make sure that we get a really good even lift. So I'm going to be using Blonde Me because it does have that bond enhancement built in, and that's really going to help us keep the integrity of her hair intact. We could be using another lightener with Olaplex. Feel free to do that as well, but this kind of just kills two birds with one stone because it's already mixed in. But the real reason I want to use Blonde Me is because they have a lot of options for developers. They have 7 volume, 10 volume, 20, 30, and I love using 7 for things like this, especially around the hairline where her hair is more fragile. So we just did about 1.5 scoops right here, and I am going to start by using 20 volume. And with Blonde Me, they do have their own specialty developers, and I love that they just squeeze out like this because it makes it so easy. I honestly wish all developers were like this because it gives you a lot of control over your product so you don't actually add too much developer on accident. So the 20 volume, I'm gonna mix together with a whisk. And when it comes to lightener, I really just like to eyeball my consistency and make sure that I feel good about if it's too thin or too thick. And then that way I can always go in and add more developer if needed, or even a little more lightener if needed. But I don't really measure the lightener, I just kind of go off of eyeballing it. And I am just gonna eyeball this to the consistency I want. I typically tend to like my lightener on the thinner side. Not super runny, but if it's thick, I just feel like it's a lot harder to work with. So I'm adding a little more 20 in there. And this 20 is going to be for our mids to ends, and we're actually going to be doing mids to ends first. And then I'm going to mix up the second portion, which will be 7 volume, and that's what's going to be on the hairline and the root area. And when we get into that, I'll explain that further. But first, we're just going to mix up this 20, and then we're not going to mix up the second one until we're ready to apply it. Okay, so when I do all over lightener, I like to do 4 quadrants, and I always go off of the middle no matter where they part. That way I just have 4 even sections that I'm working with, and it keeps it easy. So that's what I'm doing right here. I just went down the center, and then I'm gonna do 2 sections in the back, 2 in the front, and I do the front sections from the middle of the ear forward. Okay guys, so you can see that I have been working on saturating just the mids to ends. I'm leaving the root area out. I'm using the 20 volume we just mixed up right here. And the reason I'm doing it this way is because the mids to ends are where she has all of the previous color, and it's also the furthest away from the scalp, so it takes a little bit longer to heat up and process. So we need a stronger developer there, and we need it to sit longer in those areas because most likely this is where we're gonna get any banding or gold tones. So doing this first is going to ensure that we get a clean lift because this is all natural regrowth right here. So we don't wanna go in and do that right away because the heat of her scalp is gonna make it process so quickly that it's gonna end up being like a level 10 perfect right here, and then it would band to like 7s and 8s right here if we did that. Then we would have to rinse it all together and it would be a nightmare. So I'm gonna be doing it mids to ends first so that we can get all of that lift that we need to, and then just the last 20 minutes I'm gonna go in and do all of the root area with 7 volume because Like I said, it's natural, it's close to the scalp, it's gonna go pretty quick, and there's no need to do anything higher than 7 because it's gonna go so fast anyway. And so we might as well use a lower volume developer so we don't damage the hair. So that's what we're gonna be doing. I'm gonna apply all the mids to ends, probably let it sit about 25 to 30 minutes. And then within that time, I'm just gonna be looking. And then when I feel like we're about 20 minutes away from rinsing, that's when I'm gonna go through and apply the root area. And when you're doing this, you don't necessarily need to like blend right here. It's okay if it looks like a harsh line, but it's so funny because us as stylists, we're so used to going in and blending with like balayage and stuff like that. So I feel like I naturally just kind of do that because it feels weird just to go in and do it harsh like this, but you are gonna be lifting those roots out. So if it does look harsh, that's totally okay. And the key to this is just taking small sections. So you wanna make sure that everything is getting fully saturated. So I'm holding my hand underneath, and make sure you wear gloves when you do this because you're definitely gonna be getting lightener on your hands. If not, and it's gonna hurt. So you definitely wanna make sure you have some protection there. I'm doing all of the top, and then I just kind of flip it, and then I do the bottom as well. And then I kind of take my fingers with my gloves and I just massage it all in so that it's fully saturated. And something to keep in mind when you're doing this is you wanna hold the hair out a little bit elevated. If I were to go in right here and start painting right here, it's gonna bleed and transfer into her root area right there. So that's why I'm starting mids to ends and holding it out like this, and then just kind of massaging as I go. And of course there's gonna be areas that get touched, so I'm just kind of like wiping as I go to make sure it doesn't fully saturate. But I don't wanna ever go like this because then it's just gonna touch what's underneath. So I'm just kind of keeping it separated. You can also use strips of cotton to separate your rows. I'll show you that on the front so that you have a few different options. Okay, so the back is fully done. You can see all the mids to ends are covered, roots are left out, and you can see we're starting to get some processing and lift right here, which is exciting. So I'm gonna now do the front area. Okay guys, so you saw me apply this, and this was more trial and error. I actually don't have strips of cotton. I thought I did. So we ended up using processing caps in between, and it works okay, but they start to unravel and they start to fall a little bit. So we tried that on this side, didn't work great, so we're gonna try something else on the other side. But if you are in a pinch, this will work if you do wanna separate your sections. But you can see that I did saturate mids to ends, but her bang area right here, I left out. I do not wanna put 20 volume on these bangs. We're gonna be doing just the 7 at the very end. So that's why those are left out. Okay guys, so for this one, I separated the sections with foils, and to no surprise, that worked a lot better. So if you don't have cotton, foil's gonna be the way to go. Okay guys, so we just applied everything to the root, and you saw me going through and just doing that natural regrowth area we left out, and then I also feathered down with that 7 volume anywhere that was kind of banding just to reinforce that lightener on the orange tones. We also did her front area as well. We're gonna let this sit about 15 minutes and then we're gonna rinse her out, but you can see that we are getting pretty good lips, so I'm super excited about it. All right, so I wanted to talk about the importance of pre-toning before you do a fashion color, even if it's a shampoo. So I am going through and I am rooting her and toning her ends. I just want to make sure that we get her color to a really good spot before we do the shampoo, because then as it fades, it's going to fade naturally into that tone rather than fading out into the yellow and orange tones she currently has. But the nice thing about the pink that we're going for is she wants a little rose gold, which does have some orangey peach tones in it, and her hair did lift a little warm, so if we have a little warmth left over, it's totally fine. All right, you guys, this is the after of her hair. It turned out so good. It's like the perfect pastel pink with a hint of that peachy rose gold color. We are obsessed with it. So as you saw, we did the color, and then we also did her extensions as well. There is an IGTV on my Instagram if you want to look at how we custom toned the extensions to match her hair perfectly. But I hope you guys learned something from this video, and we'll catch you on the next one.